Hello again. I am Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by my co-hosts. In order, clockwise, Graham Doty, Alfred Ezman, Jay Greeson. We are here to preview and predict outcomes on each of the 8 SEC baseball series this weekend. That's right, it's opening weekend for conference play. We're going to be giving you analysis and predictions on all 8 series. This is the order in which we will do them. Kentucky at Georgia, Florida at Tennessee, Texas at Mississippi State, Alabama at Texas A&M, Vanderbilt at Auburn, Oklahoma at South Carolina, Arkansas at Ole Miss, Missouri at LSU. Let's start with Kentucky at Georgia. I think this is a tremendously interesting matchup because I think stylistically, I'm not sure you've got two teams that are assembled much differently than these two. Let's start with the visiting Wildcats. Nick Mingione is running this thing back again with Moneyball, it feels like to me. Finding undervalued guys in the portal, making him do what the Cats do. That is offensively. They put the ball in play. 14% strikeout rate as a team. That's very low. They walk a lot, 14%. They steal a lot of bases. They've stolen 46 this season. And by the way, Cole Hage is the guy that you need to be watching. He's going to be a player of the year candidate in this league. He is the guy that brings the thump in that lineup. They are very good defensively. Georgia, on the other hand, the pitching has been a struggle, especially early in games. But the Bulldogs are now 19-1. They are on, I think, a 17-game winning streak. I think it's the longest in program history, perhaps. If not, it is really close. What Georgia does is it brings the thump. 46 home runs so far. Robbie Burnett's got 9 of them. Rylan Zabrowski's got 10. They do run a little bit too, 30 stolen bases. They are going to be one of the country's leaders in home runs, and boy, it feels like the ball is getting out at Foley Field right now. Pitching has been the issue. Their starting pitching has been not what they hoped. I think Matthew Hoskins has thrown well lately, so keep an eye on that, and they will throw a ton of guys out of the bullpen. Guys, stylistically, I think this is maybe the most interesting matchup in the league. I'm very interested to see if Kentucky can go in and fluster Georgia just by being pesky, fouling off pitches, doing stuff like that, and giving Georgia problems where it's had problems, which is in pitching. But it's in Foley Field. Georgia's been pretty good there. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to win 2 out of 3. Graham, how do you see this?
I'm with you, Chris. I think Georgia will win this series, taking 2 out of 3. One of my favorite sayings that I hear coaches say all the time is styles make fights, and that's what we have here. 2 totally different styles. You allude to Kentucky. They just do it a little bit different ways. So they're dead last in the SEC in home runs. Georgia's number 2. They only trail Tennessee in that category. Georgia, they're top 3 and everything else offensively. So they got the most hits in the SEC. So Georgia built around the long ball, but they can also get doubles as well. The only question I have is Georgia. A lot of these games recently, they've been down big. But since their offense is so good, they've literally just been able to slug their way out of it. This will be, for Kentucky, their biggest test of the season. They have played on the road a lot so far, but, I mean, you're looking at going to Lipscomb and Belmont, places like that. So this is by far the biggest test for Kentucky this season. And I just think Kentucky's going to try to just put the ball in play, try to manufacture runs. And I think Georgia, just their offense will be too much this weekend for the Wildcats.
Guys, not only has Georgia been good at Foley Field, they've been good in their past 15 games. Why do I say that? They're on a 15-game winning streak. That is a hot team that Kentucky is running into. Of course, as it's been said already, they're running into them at Foley Field in Athens. I think that just gives the Bulldogs the right amount of confidence, even with the starting pitching trouble they're having, to hit the ball as well as they have against anybody. Kentucky also just has not faced a team anywhere close to where Georgia is right now, quite frankly. Give me the Bulldogs in this one. Don't be surprised, though, because of stylistic, anomalies we see in this series. Kentucky taking a game from Georgia, but I think the Dogs do get this series done and win at least 2 out of 3.
I think it's going to be a little more lopsided than that. I don't know if Kentucky I mean, and I appreciate what Graham said about styles making fights. but Kentucky can't steal first base. So, I mean, when you're hitting less than 300 in the non-conference, and now you're going to go see those power arms in Athens. I mean, we were throwing around some major league quotes as we were getting ready for today's show, and Kentucky may, to paraphrase the great Lou Brown, Kentucky may run like maize, but they hit like crap. So, I mean, I think Georgia is going to flex a little bit this weekend.
Yeah. That feels a little harsh, but you might be onto something. No, they do get on base a lot. They got a 437 on base because of the walks, and Georgia's had a lot of trouble throwing strikes, more trouble than anybody in the league. So that will be interesting. If Georgia can't throw strikes, I think that's Kentucky's path to kind of an upset. If Kentucky can't pull the ball and play with authority, the last thing you want to do is get into a home run derby with Georgia. So, again, I think stylistically it's the most interesting series of the weekend. Now, I think the most interesting series of the weekend, however, is Florida-Tennessee. And, boy, we just talked with Jack Foster in an interview that'll run here on the channel on Thursday about that series. The Gators have been red hot. The Vols are the only undefeated team left in the country. Alfred, start us off with our preview of that series.
Yeah, biggest series of the weekend, I think. I feel like in college baseball, you can certainly make the case for that. You know, this is a Florida team who really they had that rough UCF midweek a little while back. Since then, they've kind of dominated their way through their past few games. Tennessee, of course, undefeated so far this season, picking up right where they left off last year, guys. 50 home runs in non-conference play. 50 home runs already. Halfway to 100. 50 home runs in non-conference play. West Georgia game was a little low scoring and maybe a little close, but at this point, you're 17-0. I'm sure Tony Vitello and that team doesn't really bat an eye about that stuff. They're heading into this weekend. You're obviously going to get the highlight Liam matchup, Liam Doyle and Liam Peterson. That one is just going to be about what lineup can crack the opposing pitcher first. You know, I think that's going to be the major key in that one because both of those arms can really light up opposing lineups they have all season. You're probably going to see Marcus Phillips, Aiden King on Saturday. That's going to be another great matchup. Marcus Phillips has done, his due diligence, putting it kindly for Tennessee and getting them the wins they need. Aiden King, phenomenal freshman for the Florida Gators. Kevin O'Sullivan has given him enough confidence to now put him in the starting rotation. Sunday's a bit of a mystery. When rotations come out for the weekend, I'm sure everyone can go look those up to see who's starting on Sunday, but I won't speculate on that. But until then, you look at Florida. I think Florida's midweek, guys, against Florida State they just had, because we didn't really recap this, makes this very, very, very close, to be quite honest. You look at how they played. You had the bullpen be lights out. Jackson Barbary was very, very impressive for them. You had Luke McNeely come in and give some good relief as well. Another key point to this, Billy Barlow did not go too long. He can still, probably not on Friday, but he could still pitch this weekend out of the bullpen on Saturday or Sunday. That is very key to this, and that's a good Florida State team they just played, and they really held down. I mean, besides Drew Farrow and Miles Bailey hitting home runs, the Florida State could get no offense going. So, the Florida's pitching, if they kind of do that against Tennessee a little bit, they can make this super, super close between Tennessee, to be quite honest. Because Tennessee, it's been a while since Houston when Tennessee went and visited and played Oklahoma State and Arizona and teams like that. They played some small teams up until this point that are not on Florida's level. That being said, prediction time. I'm going to go Tennessee. I just cannot pick against this Vol team like a lot of people probably can't. I'm going to go 2 games, though. I am solidly going to say it's going to be a 2-game series win for Tennessee. Florida is going to take one of these because of how they looked in the midweek, and Florida is going to have their head high after this weekend. They're going to be very confident with how they played, even with a series loss. But Tennessee, 2 out of 3 against the Gators this weekend is my final prediction.
Alfred, before the rest of us make our picks, Pierce Coppola for the weekend, we have any idea if he pitches through that blister, or do they go to Aiden King?
They're going to have Aiden King in regardless in the weekend rotation. So and I think that might be Saturday just because of that injury stuff to give Coppola even more time. That's why Sunday's kind of a mystery, not only for Florida, but also for Tennessee. So we'll see when rotations come out. But I think the matchups you're going to see, obviously Liam Friday, but then Marcus Phillips, Aiden King on Saturday.
Okay.
Now, not to steal Yogi Berra's thunder about it's deja vu all over again. It was not that long ago that Tennessee was the last remaining undefeated college basketball team at 17-0, and the Florida Gators thumped them for their first loss of the season, ranked number 1 in the country. So the similarities here are fun, but if I'd be aggressive backing the Gators because I was impressed this week against Florida State like you were, Alfred, but not there. And not with the absolute zoo that Joey's going to be. I just looked it up on SeatGeek. You guys want to guess what the cheapest standing room only ticket for an SEC baseball game is going for tonight?
$300.
The standing room only is $63.
Wow.
To get one of those crazy things like a seat back, you gotta go into the 80s, and good seats are closer to 200.
Wow.
But I mean, and that's really telling about where we are even from a decade ago about college baseball, where you could have flashed a student ID and they may have let you pitch the 6th inning. So I mean, but I agree with Alfred. But these are two of the, in my opinion, the 3 or 4 best teams in the league, teeing it up on week 1 of the conference schedule. But I think Tennessee gets 2 or 3.
Yeah, and keep in mind they're playing a few hours after the basketball team is complete. In fact, maybe right in when the basketball team is completing its Friday game. Great point, Jay. Thank you for the bad memories you brought to Tennessee fans there with the basketball reference. But the difference in that one and this one is the fact that this one's in Knoxville, and I think Jay hit on it. I don't know when the last time Tennessee lost a series in Knoxville. Alfred might know. Feels like it's been a minute. Now, I think Florida is interesting. They've got about 9 really pretty elite arms that go pretty deep, and the stats have been eye-popping. I think the key for both teams will be keeping the other teams in the park, which is really, really difficult to do. Florida's elite guys did a pretty good job of that. So if this series turns differently, keep that in mind. I will take the Vols to win 2 out of 3, however.
I'm in the same boat. I think Tennessee will take 2 out of 3. No shame there for Florida, especially when you think about their level of competition they played this week. Sign me up for that game 1, Liam versus Liam. I think that's going to be a wonderful matchup. And then for Tennessee, Andrew Fisher starting to get hot at the right time. So kind of a cold start for him, but he's already up to 7 home runs, well on his way to double-digit home runs. I just think that offense is going to be too much for the Florida Gators. I think Tennessee's going to take 2 out of 3.
Graham, will Texas be too much for Mississippi State? Both teams playing pretty well. Texas is ranked, if not in the top 10, then really close to it. I'm going to start us off. Give us your preview and things to watch for the Longhorns' invasion of Starkville for the first SEC baseball series.
Yeah, well, my first thoughts are welcome to the SEC Texas. So there is no dipping the toe in the swimming pool. It's just like cannonball right in. All right, go play in one of the best environments in all of college baseball in the dude. So Texas 14-1, led by the combination really of Rodriguez and Mendoza. Offensively, Mendoza's been awesome. Is hitting almost 450 for Texas this season. So to me, I'm going to take the Longhorns just because I think they got a little bit more firepower offensively. I think Mississippi State has better arms. When you think about the level of competition that these two teams have played, Texas, they've gone on the road. They have played in these tournaments. They played ranked opponents, and they've have held their own. As you can see, only losing 1 loss. Texas has already played an SEC opponent this season in Ole Miss, and they run-rolled Ole Miss. Now, for Mississippi State, when they left Starkville, when they jumped up competition level-wise, it did not go the way for Mississippi State. So, to me, this matchup is going to be the pitching. Pico Friday night for Mississippi State. How does he match up with this Texas lineup? Pico's been really, really good. He's been able to go 6 innings multiple times this season for Mississippi State. Now, State has shaken up their rotation here lately. I mean, they even threw Noah Sullivan last night. So is he going to pitch some this weekend for State? That'll be something to keep an eye on. But it's going to be a great environment, at least 10,000 in each game. Texas is definitely going to get their taste of what life in the SEC is going to be like. I just think Texas has a little bit more punch in their lineup 1 through 9 than what Mississippi State has to offer. I think Texas will just figure it out on the mound. If you're looking at matchups, again, Texas better offense. I think State has the better pitching, but I just think the lineup is going to win this matchup for Texas.
Yeah, for me, the Friday night matchup between Jared Spencer and Pico Cone is going to be very telling of how the series goes, and that's kind of obvious because it's more likely on Friday that's going to be the winner of the series just based off you have that advantage. But man, that's going to be a good Friday night matchup. Maybe not Liam, but it's very close. Among the ones we'll see this weekend. You look too at the pitching. Texas right on the tail of Mississippi State on team ERA. Both teams, Mississippi State and Texas, 3rd and 4th in the league, respectively, in team ERAs. So they've kind of have held their own pitching wise. I just think, look, Texas has. I've harped on them in their non-conference schedule how good it's been with playing some power conference, with playing some power conference opponents and how they've handled it. I mean, they've gone to these multi-team events and they've won them all. They've been very solid. Ethan Mendoza's been an all SEC kind of player. You're going to have a hard time keeping him out of that team if you were to name it today. You have Adrian Rodriguez doing some great stuff. I have to go with Texas too. I do think because it's in Duty Noble Field, you're going to see Mississippi State take a win here. That might be Friday night when Pico Cone's pitching just because of how deep he's gone into games. But I have to give the advantage to the Horns. I mean, I think this team has just been on a roll since that first loss of the year to Louisville. Since then, it's been just a clean sweep of everyone they've played. That'll continue. Give me Texas in 2 games.
Boy, oh boy, I really lean towards the home teams, especially early in this thing. I guess I have 2 kind of side questions for the group. One, is Pico Cone the best pitcher nobody really talks about in this league?
Yep.
I mean, he just eats innings and he piles up Ks and he goes deep into games. And yeah, we know about Witherspoon and we know about Liam Doyle and we know about Prager at A&M and everybody feels like they got a bell cow. Pico Cone doesn't have to apologize to a soul. So, I mean, if you've got that dude, it then leads me to my strategery question, if I can borrow the great Saturday Night Live skit when Will Ferrell was playing W, strategery. But if you don't have a bell cow in this league, would you consider going to kind of steal Graham's Moneyball conversation from earlier? Would you go with an opener on Friday and then move your 1 to go against somebody's 2 and then have your 2 go against somebody's 3?
We've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it. Tennessee did it last year, although, I think they had some
Tennessee
dudes.
was
But yeah,
playing softball last year, so
right.
They could have Graham pitch them on Saturday, and they still were going to win half of them. But no, I'm gonna for the sake of argument, give me Mississippi State take 2 or 3 with just a slugfest on Sunday.
Yeah. Hey, look, I was probably the low man on the group on Mississippi State coming into the year. I just wasn't sure what I could trust. I know the record has not been what they hoped, but I look at some of the underlying stuff. I'm starting to become a believer in this team a little bit more. They've got a Pico Cone. Ben Davis has been doing terrific in a starting role. They've got 5 or 6 guys out of the bullpen that have been good enough. And I think their offense feels like it's got a level above what you've seen so far. Hunter Hines has been not good. He's capable of doing more. They're capable of getting more out of Ross Highfield. They're capable. Well, Dylan Cupp is starting to hit like he's capable. And then they got Nolan Stevens is hitting well. Noah Sullivan, who we've highlighted a lot. I think this State team is better than I thought it was going to be. And a lot of that is, remember how this worked last year. They had 2 dudes at the top that would get into the 6th inning and just mow teams down, and that was good enough. I feel like State's starting to get enough pieces. I'm going to go with Jay here. I'll take Mississippi State. Okay, next up, we will go Alabama and A&M. Alfred, you've been down to Tuscaloosa a little bit lately. We talked about A&M struggles. They picked it up a little bit in the midweek game with the 14-0 victory over Prairie View A&M. What are we watching for this weekend?
Yeah, kind of a tale of we didn't expect that for both of these teams. We didn't expect Alabama to be one loss heading into SEC play, playing as well as they are, toward the top of the country in home runs and whatnot. We didn't expect Texas A&M to have the struggles that they're having so badly, especially with the bullpen stuff and the fielding in particular. That being said, both teams had pretty good wins this midweek. I don't know how Prairie View A&M is as a team this year, but A&M did what they needed to do and solidly took care of business against that team. And then Alabama went on the road and beat UAB in Birmingham. That's a tough, in-state road matchup in the midweek to take, but they did that. Look, I think the fact that this game is in College Station, Jay, you talked about home fields. The fact that this is in College Station helps so much for Texas A&M, because I would be really sweating about Alabama winning this if it was in Tuscaloosa. But I think the College Station factor does change this a little bit. If you guys, the key here, if you get Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin to do what they can do, I really think Texas A&M, I'll say it, can win this series. I really do. Now, that's going to be a tall task for them against an Alabama team like this, because they've played some teams that are not up to par with this Alabama lineup, where you have, 6 guys with an OPS of 1,000 or more. So, that's going to be a tall task in and of itself. But you look at last weekend with Texas A&M, you had Prager and Lampkin combined for 17 strikeouts in their 2 starts on Friday and Saturday. I think they have the edge, and I think this midweek they just had gives them confidence. I know a lot of people probably won't like it based on how they've played this non-conference slate of games, but give me the Aggies in 2 for it being at home. I think that's going to give the lineup confidence like they had in the midweek against Prairie View. I think it's going to give their 2 main starting pitchers, in Lampkin and Prager, confidence on Friday and Saturday. I think that's where Alabama can swoop in and take the 3rd game from them. But the fact that this is in College Station and whatnot helps this team so much. And I think they make a statement that, hey, we're still hanging around to everyone in all of college baseball.
I'll start with where I agree with you, Alfred, and that's on the prediction. I think A&M takes 2 of 3, but I think A&M, and we mentioned this just a second ago, I think A&M with Prager and Oklahoma with Witherspoon, those are really 2 teams that if they split Saturday, Sunday, they're taking 2 of 3. Because you're figuring your future number 1 at the big league level is going to win Friday night. But I will pick some nits on. Home field is always a help. You sleep in your own bed. It's the fans. In this one scenario, when teams are struggling, especially baseball teams, going on the road allows you to just be y'all. You're galvanized. It's just the dudes in the locker room. And if Alabama scores 3 in the top of the 1st and the entire sphincter of College Station squeezes up to the size of a BB and everybody starts going, oh, my God, here we are. And the other part of this, and we talk about ones, there's a lot of inertia series right here. Ole Miss is in a place where are we really good? Can we go take 2 of 3? Auburn's in that same place. Texas A&M, and see, I don't say momentum because I say inertia, because momentum gives the connotation of everything moving forward. Yep. Sports is about inertia, because not only is it the power of plowing people downhill, but objects at rest tend to stay at rest. And right now, Texas A&M's at rest, because I don't give a doggone how bad you beat Prairie View. This is buckle up, boys, but you got Prager, man. I'll be hard pressed not to take Texas A&M 2 or 3 for anybody. And when you said people might call me crazy because I think, and you finished it with, I think Texas A&M can win the series. I thought you were going to say I still think Texas A&M could win the league, and I do.
Yeah. I mean, look, the offense has been the thing. They're hitting 268 as a team. Nobody in a million years would have guessed this. Do we know when Caden Sorrell's coming back, guys?
I haven't heard anything yet. I'll double check that right now. But
that's going to help. Yeah.
Yeah. Kendall Rogers said SEC play last time I've heard.
Okay. Well,
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, I
That
don't
is
know.
technically
That's-
this weekend, so that's where it's a little vague. But
That's going to help. I can't help but think, and they got all this hitting depth, guys. I mean, they hit the portal. They got guys on the bench that have hit before, so I don't know what's going on there. But where I've been concerned, and I saw this before the season, I don't think people were paying enough attention to some of their bullpen questions. And boy, guys, when you get past Lampkin, Patton, and Prager, Weston Moss has been pretty good in spots, but he's not a strikeout guy. So it's all, where does the ball land once it's hit? But, man, after that, their bullpen, with the exception of Gavin Lyons, who's only thrown 4 innings, has been bad. Rudis has been okay. So I'll take that back a little bit. And Sims has been okay. But you need 8 or 9 arms. And you look at where AM is struggling, guys. It's the midweek games where they're having to throw these other guys. Their starters, lost in all the offensive struggles have been the fact Lampkin, Patton, Prager is as good a starting rotation as you'll find anywhere in the SEC right now, even as great as some rotations are. I'm going to lean on that because those guys will eat a disproportionate amount of innings on the weekend. Some of the guys that have been struggling, you're probably not going to see, but I will tell you this. Alabama walks 17% of the time. You start missing the strike zone by a little bit inches. These are guys that will take pitches. You get Lampkin, Patton, Prager out of games early, and this could flip pretty quickly for the Aggies. I'm going to trust, though, that those starting pitchers can get them through enough innings for them to take the series. But, boy, this one will be interesting. All right, next one up. Where are we going? We're going Vanderbilt, Auburn. I'll lead that one off. Vanderbilt is quietly playing pretty well. And it's quietly assembled a nice little pitching staff led by J.D. Thompson, their Friday night guy, and Cody Bowker, their number 3. And they've got some arms in between with Miller Green and his breaking ball being a kind of a shutdown arm for them at the end. Auburn, the pitching hasn't gone quite as well. I'm a little disappointed in the bullpen so far. And after Sam Dutton, who's pitched pretty well, Christian Chatterson pitched pretty well last weekend. I'm not sure what it looks like off the top. They do have Parker Carlson shutting guys down out of the bullpen, and there's that. I think you look at power here. Auburn's got a decided advantage, even without Ike Irish. I guess, guys, is he out again this weekend? Do we know?
I'm trying. I'll check that too. Just a side note on Caden Sorrell, though. Caden Sorrell is still a few weeks away. I think he had an MRI Tuesday. So Michael Early is still saying no go for the time being. As for Ike Irish, nothing yet. I think I would think maybe not tomorrow, Friday. We could see something a little after that, perhaps. But I would not be 100% on Ike Irish heading into this weekend. But continue to watch out for that. That might change.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt's got the better pitching, and pitching usually wins out in this league, but it's at Auburn, and the game has turned into slow pitch softball at times, and I trust Auburn's ability to generate, maybe a couple more bombs than Vanderbilt does. I think that's the difference. Also, watch out for the weather. There's been some concerns that they may not play the whole weekend out into 9-inning games. If that happens, I think that tilts the advantage a little bit more towards Auburn because I think Vanderbilt's got the better bullpen by a good bit. So give me the Tigers in 2, but I think this one and the last one might have been my toughest 2 to decide on.
I'll go for me. Sorry, Graham. I'm going to go opposite of you, Chris. I'm going to go Vanderbilt. I've really liked the way they've kind of handled business the past few games. You go back, since their road trip to Southern California way at the beginning of March, that they've not given up more than 3 runs in a game. In fact, their past 2 against Valparaiso and Xavier have been shutouts. That kind of pitching will get it done. I know it's not those teams are in Auburn, but that kind of pitching I feel like will get it done. It will get a series win done at the very least. So, that of course some of that is bullpen, like that contributes to the bullpen because you may not see some of those guys get starts, this weekend. But regardless, I think that kind of momentum or inertia, as Jay calls it, helps the Vanderbilt Commodores heading into Auburn this weekend. Give me Vanderbilt 2 games.
Going Vandy on the road. I think for me, this is an intriguing series, but I'm going to go with a home team. I'm going to go with Auburn. And for me, it's simple. I just go back to last season. I mean, it was a long season for Auburn. You know how long they've had to sit around and wait for this, and just like it's essentially like we're hitting the reset button, and they can't wait for a do-over. And so they get their first crack at it. They're at home. They're playing a very good Vandy team, but I'm just a big believer in the offense for Auburn. When you look at their numbers, they're pretty top 5 consistently in multiple offensive categories, and that's just what I'm going to lean on. I know the weather is not going to be ideal, but I think they're going to have a packed house. I think it's going to be a big weekend all the way around for Auburn with the basketball tournament going on. So there's just going to be a lot of buzz and excitement. They open up SEC play at home. One thing that I guess kind of raises my eyebrows, Vandy, they've gone on the road a lot this season, like more than any other SEC team. So they're, I mean, this is nothing new to them this season, going on the road. They've been out west twice already. So they're going to be able to handle the environment well, but I'm just more of a believer in the Auburn offense, and I just think that's going to be the biggest difference. That is with or without Ike Irish. That's how much I believe in the offense for Auburn.
Count me there too, and because while we all rightly praise Tim Corbin for what he has built, and because see, I think with a team with this many young kids that you're depending on, I think it was strategic to be on the road as much as they were. Because Graham, you bring up a great point. This now feels a little more normal, and he's a steady hand. But I think Butch Thompson's really good at this too. And the loss of Ike Irish, while on paper seems big because he's probably a top 2 or 3 round pick as a catcher, but he hadn't been a whole lot to that lineup, and they haven't missed a beat. I think one of the more savvy points that we've covered, and Chris, you brought it up, if this does turn into like 3 7-inning games in 46 hours or something like that to try to get ahead of some of these spring storms, that greatly helps Auburn and an offense, because it doesn't extend games and expose an Auburn bullpen that really does have some question marks.
We're taking Auburn, Jay?
Yeah, I'm taking Auburn.
Okay. All right, next up, what have we got? Oklahoma at South Carolina. We'll throw this to our resident South Carolina beat writer, Alfred Ezman. Are you on the South Carolina beat today, or the Florida beat, or the Alabama beat, or the Georgia beat?
Was last night. Saw them play last night. So I was there in the ballpark. Beautiful ballpark.
You should be like Rob Lowe. Just get your hat with the SEC logo.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he's like our Waldo. Like, where's he going to pop up today? Is it Knoxville? Is it some
all
random fall series in Alabama? I mean, you just never know with this guy.
All over the league. Well, I saw these guys last night. Number one, I hadn't been to that ballpark. I think if I did, it was when I was really younger. Beautiful, gorgeous. So just want to get that out of the way. This series will be back there. Oklahoma is hitting the road east to Columbia to take on the Gamecocks in South Carolina. Got to give South Carolina credit where credit's due. I know they're kind of sitting at the back of our power rankings, but besides a sweep against Clemson, this team's taking care of business in all their games, and that's kind of what you need to do. And it's a good start to the Paul Maneri era. As for Oklahoma, similar things. They've been great in non-conference play. Of course, you have Kyson Witherspoon, which is just going to be a stamp, on a lot of wins this year for Skip Johnson's club. This is another kind of like what Texas is doing, heading to the Dude. This is Oklahoma heading to, if it's packed, a really tough environment in South Carolina, and really a tough road game because that's far from Norman. So that's a far road trip to take to start the year for Oklahoma. Looking at the Gamecocks, the one thing, guys, Paul Maneri brought up post-game was he wants more production throughout the whole lineup. You have Nathan Hall playing pretty well. Ethan Petrie's been spotty, but for the most part, he has come to the forefront and hit solidly with a 359 average. Jace Woodham's been good. Jordan Carrion's been a big surprise for them. I've been really impressed with how he's played. He had a big hit last night in their midweek win over Georgia State. But yeah, there's certain guys, you look at and you're like, oh, hopefully we see a little more from them. The big one, Nolan Araki, sticks out, to me as a guy, although he came off of injury a little bit in the fall. Maybe that's still laboring, although that's been a while ago. But yeah, regardless, he wants to see more hitting, from the lineup as a whole. That's hard to do against Kyson Witherspoon to start out a series. I will say that. That's a game, I'm just going to have written for Oklahoma just because he's on the mound. And until further notice, I feel like they're going to win 9 times out of 10 with him on the mound. So give me the win there. Going forward, though, it's going to come down to, what lineup wakes up more against the opposing pitching. An important note, South Carolina played Matthew Becker last night. Maneri did not tell us post-game who he was going to start. I think he was still thinking about it, but he was like, you'll find out tomorrow when I drop the rotation. That hasn't happened yet. Keep an eye out for that. It'll probably be guys, either Brandon Stone or who was the other one? Brandon Stone or
Pitzer.
Thank you. Yes, Chris.
Yeah.
Tyler Pitzer.
My guy, Tyler Pitzer. You knew I was going to remember that, Alfred.
We talked about this last night. I wanted to be Tyler Pitzer for Chris, but we'll see what Maneri says. But either way, it'll be a different starter along with McCoy and Eskew in the weekend rotation for the Gamecocks. It's just going to be about what lineup cracks the opposing pitching staff, because I think that's kind of the forefronts of these two teams. I know South Carolina's ERA has been a little inflated. That was because of the Morehead State weekend when Morehead State scored a lot of runs against them. But with that being said, prediction time, I'm going to go Oklahoma in 2 games. I think South Carolina gets 1 in just because they're at home, but I think Oklahoma's going to win on the Kyson Witherspoon night. And the hitting numbers from these guys, I understand they don't hit a crazy amount of home runs. In fact, they're only at 16 this year, but they're all hitting pretty solidly average wise at the top. You have Jason Walk, Kyle Branch, both hitting 357, Trey Gamble at 341, Sam Christensen at 333, Dayton Taki, who's been a little bit of a surprise, I think, for the most part, 326. He's still hitting pretty solidly. And I think in the end that kind of work Oklahoma does, just getting the base hits, is going to propel their offense a little bit. So give me the Sooners in 2 games in Columbia.
I'm going to go the other direction. And that's I agree with you that 9 times out of 10, you got to count Witherspoon as a W. Mm-hmm. But I think Oklahoma's numbers are a little inflated because while they're hitting better than 310 as a team, they've scored 10 fewer runs than South Carolina. I mean, and South Carolina's only hitting 280, so 279 maybe. So Oklahoma may be getting them some hits, but they're not turning those into runs. And, I mean, Ken Oberfeld used to play for the Braves, and I know he's older than a whole lot of the people not only on this show but watching this show. He had a great nickname because one year he hit like 315 or something. And his teammates called him 3010 because he got 1 hit in every 3. It was his box score line, but he never drove in a run. He never scored a run. So, I mean, that'll get you in the Hall of Fame, but it ain't going to win a whole lot of games.
So you're taking the Gamecocks.
I am taking the homestanding Gamecocks. I am. And I do like what Alfred said, that not only is that an environment that's going to open your eyes to SEC baseball, there ain't no easy way from Norman to Columbia.
No.
God help you driving that one. Alfred, question for you. What is South Carolina's health at catcher coming into the weekend?
They're good. They played, they played Coffer. I think he did a substitution between Coffer and Talmadge LaCroix mid-game. I assume that was caution-wise, but I think Talmadge LaCroix will be good to go. Hopefully he wakes up. He has not been up to par batting-wise this year. That'll be good for the Gamecocks if they can get him going. Part of that's health, but still something they could have that's left to be desired so far.
Well, I think that could be important. Oklahoma's stolen 46 bases as a team and got a lot of guys who can run, so they're going to test things. I think my worry for Oklahoma is outside Kyson Witherspoon. It's a pitching staff. No, the bullpen's been pretty good. They're top 2 or 3 arms, but Cam Johnson, Malachi Witherspoon have got good numbers, but they're putting a lot of guys on base and don't have super high strikeout rates.
Mhm.
But I worry about Carolina's lack of punch, guys. Outside the top 2 or 3 guys in lineup, there's not a lot of depth there. I feel like Oklahoma is kind of got a little bit more pop maybe than Carolina. Neither team is near with the top, but I think I trust Oklahoma's arms a little bit more. And Carolina, I mentioned Oklahoma's got some control issues here and there. Carolina, not a team that really takes a lot of walks here. So that's something to keep in mind too. I hesitate to pick against a team at home, but I'm going with Alfred and taking Oklahoma in this one.
Yeah, and I'm with Alfred and Chris more, and here's why. I just think Oklahoma has their identity. They know who they are. They don't hit a lot of home runs. They're dead last in the league. They don't hit a lot of doubles. They're built around speed. They lead the SEC in triples and stolen bases. So they just smack a lot of singles and then just make you pay once they get on base. They got the best pitcher of either one of these teams in Kyson Witherspoon. So feel really good about game one for him. And what you guys have talked about, the environment's going to be awesome. It always is in South Carolina. But to me, Oklahoma, just their identity is going to be the difference for me in this one. Jeez. Sorry, that was my
Hello.
wife. That was my wife. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Mess out of me. I didn't think it'd pop up on my phone. So yeah, for Oklahoma, their identity, just stolen bases. It doesn't matter that they're going to be on the road for the first time in SEC play. They know who they are. And when you look at the South Carolina lineup, it's really Ethan Petrie and then it's Hall. And that's really it. They don't have a lot of firepower other than those two guys. And it's that has really come back to bite them. So I lean towards the Oklahoma bullpen, and Oklahoma kind of knows what they want to do, get on base, steal a lot of bases, and they're really good defensively as well, the Sooners are. So I'm taking Oklahoma. Give me the Sooners 2 out of 3.
Okay, so I believe we're done with that one. Next up, we've got Arkansas at Ole Miss. Graham, I'm going to throw that to you to start us off.
So, yeah, 2 head coaches that have been in the league forever, 2 programs that are very, very similar. I know the fan bases don't really care for each other, especially on social media, but these 2 teams have played a lot over the years. I mean, so much so that they've even met in super regionals a couple of times. So both head coaches have a lot of respect for each other. This one is tough for me. It is a good thing for Ole Miss that it's at home. It's at Swayze Field. It's going to be packed. It's going to be rocking in a great environment. When you look at all the matchups and everything on paper, everything favors Arkansas. I mean, everything. Offensively, pitching-wise, Ole Miss this season, there's been a lot of games for the Rebels where it's like, how did Ole Miss win this game? Like, it was just Ole Miss is winning games this year that they haven't won in the last 2 years. So the difference for Ole Miss this season, they made a really good hire with Joel Mangrum, the new pitching coach. That has worked in a big time way for Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss just because this game is in Oxford. The atmosphere is going to be great. And somehow, some way, you just look down and this is an Ole Miss team that has been able to find wins. I mean, earlier this week, Mike Bianco was pretty open and honest. And, I mean, he was nervous about the midweek game. It's spring break at Ole Miss this week, by the way. So Ole Miss went on the road for midweek playing at South Alabama. He was pretty open and honest. He was like, I don't feel good about this game at all because I kind of get the sense everybody's looking ahead to Arkansas and SEC play. It did not go well Tuesday night, boys, for Ole Miss at South Alabama. That was a big win for the Jaguars. So it just feels like Ole Miss has been waiting a long time, like 2 years, to just be able to have a chance in a meaningful SEC games, really since the national championship season, against Oklahoma. Ole Miss hasn't played in a series where there's been so much on the line and so much at stakes. Again, I know everything favors Arkansas offensively, defensively on the mound, but I'm going with my gut. My gut is saying all three games are going to be close down to the wire. You got to remember for Arkansas, by the way, Gage Wood is still out, so he's not going this weekend. And so I just think Ole Miss somehow, some way finds finds a way to win 2 out of 3, especially since it's in Oxford.
I think if you get a really good start out of Gabe Gackle going up against Hunter Elliott, really good, another really good pitching matchup, by the way, when you look at the names. I think if you get that, Arkansas will take this series flat out. I think they can do it more ways than that, but I think that's one way they can do it if they get it done that way. That being said, it's hard to say that Gabe Gackle really kind of finds his footing or solid footing against Ole Miss and Swayze Field. That seems, like kind of a stretch to say that he can do that just because of, a road game and whatnot. But that's one way they can do it. I look at the offense. I mean, as of recently too, guys, I mean, I know they had that one Sunday game that was kind of close against Portland, but you killed it against Central Arkansas. I mean, the 2 other games against Portland prior to that, they had 30 combined runs, 20 and then 10 in the Friday and Saturday game. The Aloy brothers continue just to be the pair to beat offensively among brothers, although I guess LSU fans and the Pearson bros might have to say something about that. But I mean, they're up there as good of a 1-2 punch as we've seen from anybody in this league, if not the best. You look at Brett Iredale, he has been a solid, pickup. He has translated from JUCO into SEC play really well, or into not just SEC play, but power conference play really well. You look at Logan Maxwell. I think he's come up in some big spots as of late as well. I think, Gabe Gackle is a huge key to this. He really is. I'm going to go ahead and give Arkansas the benefit of the doubt in 2 games. I think the offense has just been too good, to pass up. I do think, a game they could drop is that Hunter Elliott game, just based off of it being at home. And as you said, Graham, just riding high, right? Like riding high off of, hey, we're playing meaningful baseball now in Oxford. That can happen. But I think it's just the offense is just too good, and it's going to be potent again this weekend. Give me the Hogs in 2 games.
I'm pick Suey as well, and I probably value home field more than just about anybody, especially in this league. But the starting pitch-up advantage overall, Arkansas. The lineup, strongly Arkansas, and the Aloy brothers. I mean, not since the Hanson brothers and Slapshot have 2 guys created that much damage that also had the same mama. So, I mean, it's been an impressive start to the year for Arkansas.
They need the glasses, though, Jay.
Everybody needs the glasses, Graham. Everybody.
Well, guys, I think Ole Miss's ability to hit the ball out of the park in a park where it can get out is something to watch. But Arkansas just doesn't give up home runs. And I know some of the pitching struggles with Wood being out, Gackle. I just think Arkansas still's got more pitching depth. Zach Root's been great at the top. Landon Beidelsheis, I'm sure I mispronounced it, but I'm talking about the lefty transfer from Ohio State. He would be in anybody else's rotation probably in the country. He'll get an opportunity, I think, this weekend because of that. I would think. Give me Arkansas just based on the pitching depth here, but watch out for the keep the ball in the park factor because they'll test Arkansas with that. Okay, what have we got left? We got Missouri going to LSU. I'll just be honest. The gap between these teams is huge.
Give me the Tiger in all 3 games.
Absolutely. We'll take the Tigers. That's your pick of the week. Look, I think most people know about LSU. I'm so impressed with that team and its pitching depth. But and if Missouri's got a chance, and we saw Missouri do it last year in spots, press some teams to the limits we didn't think were possible. It starts with Caden Drew, who is, I guess, I don't know if he's their Friday night guy, but he's one of their starters. He's been one of their more respectable guys. Ian Lose, too, has been good. They're lefty. Both those guys have been pretty good, but, boy, once you get in the bullpen, it drops off. I think the recipe for Missouri to take a game is to get something out of those guys. But boys, the gap between Missouri and whoever you rank at 15 is huge, and LSU is a legit national title contender. Give me LSU. Graham?
Do you guys know the opposing batting average Missouri's pitching staff is giving up?
No.
294.
I thought it was going to be worse than that, but that's
Really?
Yeah.
That's that made my eyes pop out of my skull when I saw that they're giving up nearly a 300 opposing batting average, and you're going into Alex Box Stadium to play LSU. That's why I had hands on my head, when Chris started talking about it. This is just not it's not the team, and it's not the ballpark you want to go to start SEC play. If you're Missouri, it's not the draw you wanted to have. Things may get a little bit better, situational wise for them. They do have teams visiting them to go play them after this weekend, but it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a pretty good weekend for LSU. Give me the Tigers sweep against the Tigers, actually.
Yeah, I'm going with everybody here. This will be a clean sweep for all of us. I'm assuming. And Alfred, your tweet that you had about this, the Ted Lasso gif, that's how I feel about this series. When it's like Mizzou opens up SEC play on the road at LSU, like, ooh boy, good luck.
Yeah.
So just as Chris, you've alluded to, the talent gap is enormous. LSU is going to be able to handle Mizzou at home.
I'm going to lean in and say ditto.
Okay, time for the end of the show. But before we leave, we're going to do something fun on Jay Greeson's suggestion. That is, we're going to each take teams. We're going to get 4 picks to select our champion. This is kind of putting it all on the line. And what's going to happen, I'm going to spin a wheel behind the scenes. Whoever comes up first gets the first pick. If you pick first, you get to pick your slot you want. The first slot gets picks 1 and 8 and also 9 and 16. The second slot, you just go on down to 2 and 7. It's kind of like a snake draft where it's round 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 4, 3, 2, 1, and then repeat again. So I'm going to spin the wheel, and whoever spins the wheel gets their first selection of draft spot, and then we'll finish that out. All right, we're going to now have a little fun before we end the show. Per Jay's idea, we're going to all take our shots at league champion, but here's the catch. We're going to pick an order. So we got draft spots in kind of a snake draft order. Alfred gets first pick. He gets last pick in the second round. Graham will pick in the number 2 slot. Jay will pick a number 3 slot. I'll pick 4. And we'll all give our best shot at selecting the league champion. Alfred, with the number 1 pick, your selection is who?
Tough one here. I'm going to have to go to the Tennessee Volunteers.
Graham.
Give me the LSU Fighting Tigers.
Jay?
I will take Florida.
Oh, great. Well, that puts me in a bind. With the clear 3 top choices, in my opinion, off the board, I will take Arkansas. And with my next pick, goodness, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to pick the preseason national championship Texas A&M. So we are now back to Jay at number 6.
If you had not taken them, I was. So especially since by most of the metrics I've seen, they've got what a lot of people view as the easiest schedule in the league too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach here for a high ceiling crew, and I'm gonna take Georgia.
Yeah, that was who I was debating, Jay. We are now back to Graham.
Jay just took my pick. That was a good pick. Good value pick. Give me Texas.
Oh, yeah. I'm a little surprised they're on the board that long, but that's the league. And so, Alfred, you're up next.
Good snag, Graham. I was going to take them. I'll go. Oh, if their pitching wakes up, they could do it. I might be skipping someone, but I'll do it anyway. Give me Oklahoma.
Okay. I'm actually not entirely displeased with this. because I think we've kind of snuck past another team with a favorable schedule. That's Mississippi State. I'm going to take.
Pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. No, it's mine, isn't it?
No, it's Alfred. He's
my
got
pick.
1, 8, 9, 16.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I just tipped my hand.
Chris. LSU Missouri moment. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, that's my penalty for being stupid.
Yes, they do have a very easy schedule. So I will go Mississippi State, unfortunately. Yeah. Unfortunately for Chris. Everybody make
money. Can we go ahead and pencil in Alfred getting the 16th pick of the Fighting Mizzou Tigers?
Yeah, go ahead and slot me in.
Yeah. Okay, Graham, you're up next.
There's still a lot of good teams left on the table here.
Yeah.
Give me Vandy.
Almost totally forgot about Vandy. Okay. Tough schedule, though. Really tough schedule. We are up to Jay.
I'll take Alabama.
Dang it. Okay, so now I'm back to back, right?
Yep.
Give me Kentucky, team that's challenged the last 2 years. Nobody's paying attention to. And who have we got left at this point?
South Carolina, Auburn, and
yeah,
and Missouri.
No, Alfred, we've already penciled Missouri in at 16.
South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Auburn.
Yeah.
Well, give me Auburn.
Dang you, Chris.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You know, to be honest, is we got later in the draft, this wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
I really think because I'm about to leave Graham Ole Miss just because, see, I like to do nice things for my friends.
You're a good person.
And I'm a good person, whereas Chris is just hoarding. He's like that miser underneath the bridge counting his gold going, "Ooh, shackles."
No, wait a minute. I gave Alfred a gift. It was unintentional, but I did do it.
I will take South Carolina, but, I mean, we look up and it wouldn't blow anybody's hair back if they're 3 weeks left in the season and they're still contending. I mean, that's pick 14 in this league.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Graham, you can have Ole Miss, brother, because I know you're vested with that program.
Thank you.
And Alfred, you're left with your parting gift. So
M-I-Z.
M-I-Z. All right. Well, that concludes this episode of Baseball Predictions. We'll be here to recap it at some point in the weekend. Not entirely sure what that's going to look like because we are following the SEC basketball tournament. We got our NCAA selection show. We'll be doing that Sunday live. In any case, for Graham Doty, Alfred Ezman, and Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee still, I think. Thank you for watching our baseball content here at Southeastern 16.